Hi, hello, g'day, kia ora, welcome to the studio. I'm Paula from Moxy Mojo, and this is day 14 of Dephemerember 2023, your ephemera inspiration for December. Thank you for joining me for today's prompts. Feel free to craft along or sit back and enjoy watching my take on the prompts from Louisa and Barbara. So, what are today's prompts? Here in the madhouse, as I'm sure it's about to become. 14 mushroom robots. Now, each week there seems to be one prompt that I have really struggled with, and today is this week's prompt. For the longest time, I've had it in my brain to do a robot with mushrooms growing out of it. And up until about 5 minutes before I started getting ready for the prompt, that's what I was going to do. I then came up with this inspired thought and reread the prompt, and it says mushroom robots, and thought, no, I've got it wrong. So we've come up with another idea that's fallen into place so much easier than what I was struggling with the last one. And so that's what we're going with. And so today, welcome to the Mad Scientist's studio, where we are going to piece together our mushroom robots. Now, as per normal, it's going to be singular mushroom robot, not robots. But that's okay. We know I do that. So let's see what we've found. Now, I've been through my scrap boxes and I've found some bits that I thought might be useful. So from Tanya, I've got some scraps here, mainly in sort of a green tone and some brown as well. We've got some tea and coffee dyed, and then looks like some ink there. And then from Miss Wendy, I have got some, here are we, some bright red. Got a couple of pieces there, and funnily enough, some mushroom toned pieces. So I'll pull those out as well. I'm not sure for sure which, if anything, I'm going to use. And from Wendy, I've also grabbed some tags. And these are die cut tags. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of them. We will see. And the other thing I happened to spot in Miss Wendy's bundle was a little wee mushroom charm. So maybe we will get multiple mushrooms because my mushrooms have got a mushroom charm. We'll see. Other than that, I'll just have to put it on the spine of my journal because, yep, mushrooms love mushrooms. Right, so let's clear these boxes away and then we'll get into making it. Oh, and I do have some surprises of materials yet to come up. The thing that we're going to start with, and what is going to determine our size, is the top of our mushroom. And so I've spotted these. Now this is a textured heart, which looks very cool. But I thought if I turn it upside down, then it kind of looks like a mushroom as it is. And even though I could shape it a bit more mushroom-like, I like it like this because it looks manufactured, which of course a mushroom that was a robot would look like. And I thought about using this one, but I do actually quite like this textured heart here. So even though this would be easy to apply because it's sticker paper or contact paper, we're going to go with this heart here. So that's our heart, and that's going to determine our size. Now, what I want to do is, this is really flimsy, so I want to back this onto something. And for what I'm going to do, it needs to be something fairly firm. I found this, now this is photo matting board, what photographers use. And I got this in some scraps from my friendly resource centre. Whoops, a wee bit dusty. So obviously I'm guessing it was like the centre out of a matting board. And so this wasn't used, and for my needs it's absolutely perfect. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure this, and when I find my pencil, there it is, we need to mark around about there. Should be more than, or even, no, that's safe. That should be plenty big enough for what we need. So I'm going to cut this off, hopefully using my guillotine. I don't know, I've never tried to cut this before with it. Alright, come on trusty guillotine, show me what you got. Are you grunty enough to cut through this? Right, there's my mark, there's that. Yes, not quite like through butter, but at least we made it in one slice. That was a bit of a struggle. Alright. Now, while we're at it, we might as well work out how wide we need to be, because I didn't think to do that beforehand. Silly me. So, that looks wide enough. So, here we go again. I'll try not to grunt so much. Sounds like, you know, the female tennis players or weightlifters. Excuse me while I do my exercise for the day. Oh, that was much easier. Right, I know you're going to have to come back for some other things, but for now you can go away. I'm going to put this underneath, and by the look of that, it's like it's really warm in here today. I'm in short sleeves, and I think my glue's going to come out like there's no tomorrow. It's going to be really runny. And yes, it kind of is. Hopefully we're not going to end up with glue everywhere. Well, we are if Paula can't keep it on the page. Or on the paper. Sort your life out, woman. And there goes another plane. Maybe they're doing landing exercises or something. They're a little bit like biplanes, so it's not like I've got 747s flying over my head. But it's just they're coming in pretty low, and so it makes them sound all that much more noisy. That, and I've got the windows open, so that could be it, Paula. Duh. Alright, anyway, back to what we're doing. Stop talking about planes. Alright, so, stop saying so. Okay, so we've got our glue on there. We're also getting glue on our fingers, but that's, you know, beside the point. Now we're going to stick this down onto which side? We want it on this side, I think, so that if there is any silver showing when my cutting is done, or any excess showing, it'll be silver. And I'm cleaning this glue off straight away so that hopefully it doesn't mark. Whoops, and I've got some glue on the top. Where did I get that from? Alright, there we go. That's stuck down very nicely. Right. So I'm going to leave that to dry a few minutes. Shouldn't take too long. So now what we need are some more silver bits. So what we're going to try this on, and I have no idea if it's going to cut through this, is this. It's called 3D Illusion Bubbles. And I got this. See, look at that. Isn't that cool? It's a plastic see-through. And I think they must be like 8 by 11 and a half. I haven't measured them. I got this when I was in the States from Viva Las Vegas Stamps. I've forgotten after all that. 2.5 by 1.5, wasn't it? 2.5, 1.5. I should stop interrupting myself. Alright, so here goes. If we go and do this at 1.5, then there's going to be less wastage. So, watching very carefully that knife blade. Stick that down there, and oh, that didn't cut too bad. Not too bad at all. So that was 1.5, wasn't it? Yep. So now we want 2.5. 2.5, and slice. Okay, so I think you can kind of see where I'm going with this. This looks to be all cut out. I'll put this lot aside for now. That on top. So now I'm going to get some scissors and hack my way around here. And then once I've done that, I need to then draw around on the cardboard below and cut around that. So I could be a while. I'll be back once I'm done cutting this out. Both of my hearts are cut out. So that's the first bit done. We now have our mushroom top. So I think the first thing is I need a little brad. So I need those things to sit there. So I'm just trying to think, I need some things to dry. So first things first is we need our brad to dry. Now what I need to do with this is paint it white. Okay, so the twink worked okay, but I've now just put a layer of white acrylic paint on top, so it is currently set aside to dry. It looks quite lumpy and uneven, but that's because of the correction tape, so a correction pen, and I used Liquitex soft bodied acrylic in titanium white. And I'll probably do at least another 1, maybe 2 coats on that. So I'm now going to take these little wee frames, and we'll bring you in closer. Whoops, wrong way. I seriously need to work that out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take out the words that are in here so that I've got just a plain frame. So hopefully this will be easy enough to do, and I'm using my old Tim Holtz Tonic Studios cutting knife. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that, almost perfect. Whoops, I forgot about the side. Didn't spot it was joined over there. My bad. Right, does that look even? It's a wee bit out. Okay, so we're just going to do one line of glue all the way down there, all the way up this side. Whoops, can you see me? All the way up there, and then we'll do one around the circle roughly, and then oops, hang on, look at that, just like it was meant to be there. Okay, so glue up. Now we're going to put this on top, and then very quickly make sure it's all together. Now we're going to do it all again. Who said this crafting business was easy? 1, 2, 3. Alright. Straight across there again. Around the circle again. Hold it down again. Sensing a pattern again. Alright. This time, are we going to cooperate? Ooh, that one seemed to go a bit better. Iridescent bright silver. So, is that dry? Yeah, we're going to use the same pen because it's a water pen with a fine nib on it. So I've just put a really little blobble of paint there. Dry off that nib or the brush and paint this on. And I'm trying to do a really thin layer so it will dry quickly. That's our first layer on, so you can now sit to the side to dry. Next thing we need to do is we have our little wee frosting. So what I'm going to do is just use one of these other tags and check for sizing. Okay, so we need to take a very thin slice off the side. So if I line that up there, we need to take about a couple of mils off. So come here, Tim Holt scissors, and let's just do about there. Right, is that enough? Let us check. Okay, yep, that looks to be enough. Now, is it short enough, or does that need to come off as well? No, we need to do about the same off this end. Maybe a wee bit more. So if we go about there. Right. Now, will that fit under there? Yes, it will. Now we need to work on this. Now, actually, before we do that, what we're going to do is I want these two together, and I need to hold them very carefully together. Those two need to be perfectly aligned. Yep. Hopefully the small hole will be big enough. And we're going in and punching a hole about there through both layers. Perfect. Just what the doctor ordered. So we're doing 1/4 inch chomps on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yes, every time I chomp corners, I always count, so I know I'm doing the right number. You and you. I think you need to be shorter, but we'll start off by 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I know I'm going to have to empty this pretty soon because these will be fairly thick chunks, clearing up the little wee storage area. We've chopped this, but to be honest I think they're going to be too long. I want them, so I probably need to take off about that much. To be sure though, what we need to do is do these. Now these I'm going to have to sketch on here. Yeah, that kind of looks like a robot claw, doesn't it? What do you think? C for claw. How many people find that this is what their projects are like? You've got to keep going back and forth to different things and keep on top of them. Right, that's dry. It's dried around the sides, so it's just on the top. That's okay. Okay, that was a busy 2 seconds. I have done a second coat on here, and I've also painted the edges inside and outside the frame and in the dot there. So that's now dry. Our bread is very nearly dry. Still just, it's like halfway on the top that isn't quite dry. So hopefully that'll be dry soon. And failing that, I'll have to get out the heat gun. I've cut out our claws. And then I was just checking a couple of things. And I've had to cut out of the scraps 2 extra little wee pieces. So you'll see what they're for shortly. They're just like spacer pieces really. And then I had to cut 2 more bits that together are the same width as the body. And I've rounded the corners on those. So next thing we need to do is we're going to stick these onto here, then the body, and then the other side around. And I need to make sure I've got a gap of like a couple of spaces there. So very similar to like what I would do wrapping a book. So So we've got that and that. That kind of looks like a mushroom, doesn't it? Onto our arms. We need our glue again. And we are going to glue right in the middle of one side, down just a millimetre or so, one of these spaces. And then on the other one, we're going to do exactly the same. That one right in the middle, down a millimetre or so, one spacer. Now, why we need the spacers is because these are going to go behind, and otherwise our arms would be on an angle. So we are putting spaces top to match the claws below. Now I'm going to have to flip these over, but I want to check that these are about the same height. So there's one. So now the spacer is lifting the arm the same height as the claw. So now what I need to do is mark, oops, and shift it so you can see it. We want 1/2 inch from that end and 1/2 inch from that end, and switch it around, and we want 1/2 inch from that end and 1/2 inch from that end. We are just about at the putting together stage. We are just going to glue on our white dots, and I do need to cut some more. So all I did to make my dots, and I'll just use this scrap paper here, was a hole punch, and I just went and did 2 at a time because it's folded in half. Now I'm not going to need this many, but I'd rather have them than not have them. Right, that should be more than plenty. Right, so now we've got our hole there, so we need to avoid that. So what I'm going to do is just like try and do this both hands. So one, I'm going to have to do it cack-handed. Alright, so we want, it's one, and glue. Yep, I knew, oh no, don't move. There we go, how's that? Right, so here we go. We are going to put this on our tag. So we're going to glue up the side. 1, 2, 3, underneath there, around there. Alright. Now, put that on there, and now we need to make sure that it is all lined up. Now, we're going to put this on there. So we need to glue whoops, down the side here. And this side here. And that is going to go in about there. And that's going to sit on top. And right, so we're going to put you in there. So there is our mushroom head. We have our mushroom body. We are going to stab through 3 layers, hopefully. Or at least, okay, yep, mark the second layer. Right, there we go. So now we need to come back in and do this one. Right, so that's that one. 1, 2 silver brads. So we're going to go through 1, through 2, and press that down really hard. And these are Tim Holtz tiny attachers, or no, they were the long fasteners, I think they were. So then that's gonna stay closed, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. I don't know that I thought the plan through very well. Now we have a slight conundrum. Okay, I'm going to have to do some more surgery. While we were gone, we had some relatively minor surgery happen. The most obvious being I've trimmed the bottom of our mushroom because it just wasn't looking right. So along with that, I've also then trimmed the bottom layer as well. I've also added 2 small strips here for the next bit, and onto this one I've stuck the wheels for our robot. I need to get the bottom sorted. So for that we are looking at some of these scraps that I got from Tanya. So we're wanting some green bits. What we want is, that one's got a bit more green on it. So we need a bit. I'm going to pull that off. That can go over this side, and actually that way up might work. So I am just going to cut at random. So that is 1. Yep. And then 2. perfect. I like this one. I might do some of this. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Is that enough? And that is going to go in there. I think it's going to be this one here. Which, okay, we've got moths there. That's kind of okay. It's slightly greenish. Maybe we need to greenish it up a bit. So we're going to start off with that permanent green, and this is in that golden so flat matte acrylic. I'm going to use an older brush that is not been well looked after by myself, which is a shame because it was like one of my favourite brushes. And I think it was because some of the paints I used were not the best. So now we're just wanting to put this in, and we are just going to create, if all goes to plan, the illusion of some grass. So we're just going to swipe up. Now we're just going to do exactly the same thing with this different colour of green. Hardly used any paint at all. Pretty much it was off the lid and that was about it. Now, yep, that is dry. So now let's see if we can put it all together. Okay, so we have our mushroom kind of growing in the grass. Right, so now that needs to be able to drop down a wee bit. So let's, there, that's about as far as we want it to go. So we go there. Now this will be interesting. There's no going back from here. We don't want to glue this bit down because it needs to slide, but we will glue this bit down. So we, whoops, we don't lean on it. That's the rules. So we're there, so it's going to go there, down. There. And there. Okay, right, so you can come up. Right, so you're there. Stay. Right, so here we go. Again, we need to glue this down. So we've glued there, we've glued there. Now we're going to glue up the side, up this side, across here, and probably all of this top half. Oops. making sure we don't get that there. So now go there. So I've made sure that my feet are in the gap. And I'll probably need to weight this down overnight, just to be sure. So that is there. And that can still slide up and down. Yep, that's cool. So now we need to glue this in place, so that sits there. So we're going to glue all of this, all this top layer, or bottom layer, I suppose is really the more accurate description. I'm turning this around because I want to make sure that this fits in snugly. Now we can put it on top. Alright, so now we need 1, 2, right, so all we need to do now is our grass, and for that we have slide that in, and we're going to tuck our grass over the top. So we have, so that's slid in there. So now we are going to, let me just check. Alright, so I'm going to kind of glue here, and I'm just kind of gluing along the bottom there, and then I may need to glue some of these again. Alright, so that's that. It's that first layer. Now we have our second layer. We have our mushroom, which we've got a robot screen, and then you pull this down and you see the robot arms there. And now our mushroom robot. It's not as good as I'd hoped, but it still looks pretty cool to me. I love that I was able to get a couple of moving components, well, 4 moving components. We've got the top that moves. We've got the arms that swing in and out. Oh, we've got the doors that close. That's 1. And that's 2. And then that holds them closed. And then the legs slide up as well to cover. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 moving components. I'm pretty chuffed with that. Still things I wished I hadn't done and things I would like to improve on, but I'm over the moon with it because I really was struggling with that. So for now, I am calling it quits on this one, and I will see you back in the studio for the next prompt. Bye for now.